Alright, we got 3 packages. Although they're all different kinds, so. First we got this kind. Then we got this kind. And last but not least, we have this, which I haven't seen one of these in a while. At least not for a DVD. I guess usually it's one-off things, socks and stuff like that. Alright, so at the top here we have, can't read it at all. It's Peter Grill and the Philosopher's Time Super Extra, which Super Extra I do believe means it's the 2nd season. This is a steelbook. It shipped a little later. I guess it just either wasn't in stock or I didn't get early stock in time, but I got second run of it, so pretty good. Let's see, there's a little bit of plastic loose there. Let's see. On the back, that's a Region A. That looks like an English dub. Never seen the first season, but you get the impression the general idea is... Actually, do I know what the general idea of the series in general? I know the 2nd season talks about a bunch of girls who want to have his superior genes. It sounds amusing enough. Whether or not it's actually really good with that, I don't know. That said, I can feel this is here, but there's a bit of a plastic lip here that makes it hard to... There we go. I guess that's okay. They're pretty naked, but not showing anything per se. But damn close, huh? Oh well. I'm wondering if this is the big release. I'm trying to remember what else is here. We've got Utawarerumono. This is Mask of Truth. Is this a movie? You know, I bet the back says this is 28 episodes. I guess it would be interesting to watch insofar as it's been a long time since I've watched any of it, but oh my god, it's been such a long time. I barely remember what happened. I would probably need to rewatch stuff from the very beginning. But, oh yeah, did I check the back to see regions A and B? Okay, cool. That means it could be imported by the overseas friends who might be interested. Two episodes. There's 3 episodes. 21. Okay, this is all Blu-ray, and this one is Fallen Out. Disc 4 plus bonus features. Next up, we have Bibliophile Princess. Okay, I see the back saying something about judging a book by its cover. I think probably saying you shouldn't. So let's see. You can't always judge a book by its cover. Okay. Well, let's look at other things. I see Japanese with English subtitles, Region A, 12 episodes on 2 discs. Politics, Royals, and Romance. Interesting. Definitely a very interesting looking couple, but not sure what to think about it otherwise. Interesting. And last but not least, we have Young Blackjack. What does that say? Complete collection. Region A, Japanese with English subtitles only. I used to look at the extras a little more carefully, didn't I? Because I don't think I had this. The name sounds familiar, so I'm not really sure, but whatever. Here it is. Alright. Small but simple. Here's this week's anime Blu-ray collection update. Alright. Let's see. Unfortunately, I am really starting to fall behind on a couple of series. Some of which I'm not sure if I'm giving up on yet. I'm not entirely sure why it didn't happen. I know, like, tonight, it was kind of hard to feel the energy to watch stuff. Partially exhausted. Can't think about certain things, but let's go through these as I go through these. So, with my Friday friend last week, I watched Goblin Slayer, the dub version, Season 2, Episodes 7 and 8. And, you know, I think, like I said, it's an okay end to the arc. You know, there's a couple cool scenes in there. But I guess there's something about it that doesn't feel like... I don't know. Maybe it didn't necessarily play as strongly to Goblin Slayer's strengths. Like the titular character, but, you know, it's whatever. Rising of the Shield Hero, dub, Seasons 3, Episodes 3 through 5. Yeah, more stuff. Again, you know, rewatching it, just that same old feeling that Shield Hero Season 3 is nowhere near as bad as Season 2. Maybe nowhere near as good as Season 1. But I might... I'm trying to think if I had thoughts, even at this part, watching it with my friend, that it just doesn't feel like it's focusing on the thing we want it to focus on, which is our main character and his main... You know, it keeps introducing new characters, and they're interestingly enough, and some of them are really cool, but thematically they just kind of aren't connecting as strongly as they probably should. I think I mentioned before, like, another character who my friend hasn't... I mean, the friend's seen the character, but they haven't seen where the character's, like, actually trying to be the shield. And it's, like, kind of cool, but it's, like... But it doesn't make sense. Our main character is the shield, so it makes sense when he's the shield. And when Raphtalia was his sword, that was, like, a really nice thing. And we feel like she actually is his sword because she's the one he primarily uses to do his precision attacks, even if, you know, to some degree sometimes that gets a little sidetracked, but it wasn't too bad when it wasn't too many characters. In fact, it was kind of really good even with that stuff, but in this season it feels like, I guess Raphtalia is their attempt to make a physical attack, kind of, but it's hard to say that it feels like it's doing anything with her, and yeah, whatever. It's still very watchable. I just don't remember what happened in episodes 3 through 5 specifically. Just remember that it still feels that way. Yeah. Alright, as for my stuff, so I still haven't watched any of the episodes of Hulk since I last watched it. I kind of want to finish the series. I want to watch it to the end. But I guess I just gotta get over this mental hang-up of... I guess it just exhausted me, and I'll need to see more. Saint's Magic Powers Omnipotent, Season 2, Episode 10. And this show's falling very deep into almost just shoujo, which is not necessarily bad, but it does kind of mean that it's hard to tell what to think about it, because to a certain degree it's like, yeah, well, okay, I guess it's just enjoying itself now, and that's fine. I just also wonder if it doesn't feel like, is it going to do something that feels like it's relevant to, I guess, the scenario setup, or just to the characters. You know, that's not necessarily bad. But I guess, for me, the just shoujo parts aren't as strong. Maybe? Whatever. You know, it is what it is. The Eminence and Shadow, Season 2, Episode 30. Let's see. I guess some funny quotes from this. I do really appreciate that it continues to do its own interesting things, as in, like, it's not like, okay, the things that made Season 1 awesome, well, we're just going to do those all over again. I'm kind of curious what it's about to do, because it may be about to do something really awesome. It certainly feels like it, and I don't know what that awesomeness is going to look like, but it feels like if it does something, it's going to feel less rushed than perhaps the first story arc. I'm not sure that it necessarily felt rushed so much as it just kind of went by kind of quickly, if you know what I mean. But I don't know, stuff. My daughter left the nest and returned to Nest Wreck Adventure, episode 11. I guess it's kind of continuing to be interesting stuff. I do appreciate the fact that as it continues, it feels like there is theming going on. Like it is building up to some sort of, this is kind of the goal of the story the whole time, because it does feel like all the elements are just there. I really like most of the Belgrieve stuff. I wonder if that's how his name is actually pronounced. But, and I forget the name of his daughter. No. A lot of her stuff is interesting too and feels very relevant to the plot and what's going to happen. I guess we just, yeah, I'm just curious to see where it's going to go as it comes to the end of either this season or the core, or it's possible it could be building up to the end of a season or series too, which would be highly appreciable. Dr. Stone, season 3, episode 20. Like I mentioned after the last episode, I was kind of looking forward to this episode more because it's kind of back to the strongest thing that Dr. Stone does, and interesting developments, pointing of directions, interesting to see certain character interactions happen. It felt a little fast, but maybe not necessarily bad per se, just a little fast. I am still curious about one or two more things related to the immediate stuff, but definitely curious to see where it's planning to go next. So, on my own, let's see, Rising of the Shield Hero season 3, episode 10. What happened here? Some of the stuff that was fallback from what happened in the previous episode was done. Okay, yeah, I guess they are setting up for an interesting thing, which is better than... Okay, so like season 2, one of the big problems with season 2 Shield Heroes, it felt like, okay, I guess they increased Naofumi's harem, but it felt like such a weird addition. And with season 3, they've been doing a better job of these characters and kind of making them their own thing, which unfortunately is also a bit of a distraction. But at least this one is a distraction that feels like it's important to the main theme of the show. And I really need to talk to my brother a little bit because we've had some interesting discussions before, and now I've got an interesting second thought to make. But I'll have to do that with him whenever. Goblin Slayer season 2, episode 10. I was really afraid seeing the brief blurb about what the episode was about, saying, oh, is this one of those type of episodes? I really don't like them, but actually it wasn't very bad for what it was. It's instead been a really good, interesting excuse to kind of set stuff up in a good way, more than I thought it would. So, kind of, I'm liking this third story arc. I'm interested to see what it'll do because it feels like it has some good promise, mostly because it feels like it as a story arc might cover more important things for a main character. Like, it might make him shine a bit more than the previous 2 story arcs have. And I guess we're wanting to be wowed by Goblin Slayer, not whelmed, not overwhelmed, just whelmed, I guess. Kingdom of Ruins, episode 10. I think conceptually there's a lot of stuff in this episode that was good, but I guess there's some problems I had with it. And I think most of that comes down to, for me, I feel like this series needed to be a revenge flick, for lack of better terms, because that makes it sound like it should be a movie, but, I felt like it should be, and they do a whole lot of stuff to kind of get in the way of that, I guess. And this felt like just more of that. But to be fair, a lot of it is with combat, and it's not like the combat was fake combat. Because, you know, there's real stakes involved. You see some back and forth. There's a little bit of something I guess you could call fakeness to it in that, I guess there's pauses in the battle that don't quite seem natural. Sorry, I have a streamer on, and he's going through an interesting night, Chase, and it's distracting me a bit. So let me continue looking at the screen with the list of stuff to talk about stuff. Is there anything else to say about Kingdom of Ruin episode 10? Also not quite sure what to think about near the ending, but it feels like, I don't know, maybe thematically it feels like it gets in the way of what I feel like I want the series to be. And that could be a very me problem, because it's, again, other than that, there's interesting things about the episode that could be considered neat. Free Run, Beyond Journey's End, episode 14. Yeah, I really just don't like Fern. I can kind of understand why people like her, but I don't know. She comes off as a little bit... I don't know. She's too exhausting. Freeman, you know, she's actually really great and fun and has some interesting things, especially when she, you know, pulls very surprising things out of her arsenal. Let's see. This episode had to do with that. I'm not I'm not mixing up last week's episode. It was both of those things happened in this week's episode. That and that. And it was all fun stuff, and I don't hate Fern, I just don't like her. I know it's weird, but I guess it's because... I don't know. I guess... I think I would rather shoot myself than live with her or something like that. It's like, she would be someone that I could probably be friends with if I didn't have to see them every day. Maybe a coworker if I had to work with them. But I don't know. There's something very angry going on there, and I don't know what it is. I know a lot of people like her. You know, that's fine. Let's go on to next stuff. Ragnar Crimson, episode 11. Mostly, I guess, set up for whatever's going to happen in the next episode, I guess. On both sides. Really hate the Winged Monarch. Hypocritical bitch. Wishing the worst for the dragons. I hope they all fucking die. They're kind of interesting, but I don't like that it's slowing down and spending a lot of time seeing them interact to a certain degree. I want to see just more Ragnar and Crimson and whatever they do, and their company tends to be a lot more amusing and interesting. And definitely very interesting stuff that happened in their regard. More on the Ragnar side than Crimson's side this time, but definitely curious to see what Crimson is doing, I think. Because I think we know, and it's like, oh yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does. Vexations of a Shut-In Vampire Princess, episode 9. I guess it's an okay setup episode for it doing new stuff. So it's doing some building up of the premise, I would say. Some portions of it were actually quite amusing. I'm not sure if I want to say too much, reveal too much, but I found it was pretty funny, I guess. And definitely curious to see where it's planning to go from there, because it's not setting up something that's just... the same old, same old. There seems to be an expansion in terms of what it's, I guess, planning to do with it. Faraway Paladin, Season 2, Episode 10. I highly appreciate their interaction with the dragon. It's not, like, the dialogue with the dragon isn't on the level of The Hobbit or something like that, I guess. But it's still pretty good. But what I like more, and this is definitely thinking more of the live action stuff, where I haven't watched most of the Hobbit movie. I watched the first movie. I just kind of knew I wasn't going to want to watch anymore. But when it came to watching the Smog scene, it's like, yeah, that's worth firing up and watching. And the dialogue and the interaction between Bilbo and Smog while they're talking is great. But once it comes down to, oh, now there's action going on, it felt dumb. Like, oh, yes, well, they're now dealing with a big angry beast and not some living, thinking thing. And the battle, if you could call it that so far, with the dragon in Faraway Paladin has so far felt like they've been up against something that's big, yes, but it's very intelligent. So, highly appreciative. It feels like it's just a great addition to a lot of these sort of fantasy tropes, I would say. Butareba, the story of a man turned into a pig, episode 9. It's okay stuff. Like I said, the series kind of shows its better point when it's more about the I guess the Jess's story, and it's continuing to be that. If there's any criticism I would have of this episode, it's that it sort of feels like pieces moving around slowly on a chessboard to a certain degree. So it doesn't necessarily feel authentic and great or something like that. But not bad. Just okay. I Shall Survive Using Potions, episode 10. Let's see. What to comment about this? I guess it's doing more of its, keeping every episode pretty fresh from the previous one. I'm trying to remember what the preview for episode 11 might have said. And if that would give me an interesting idea in terms of, I guess, what it's planning to do. But, yeah. I don't know. I also can't help but think that a lot of these things about it that still make it interesting to watch only really work because I'm watching it now. I somehow suspect if you tried to binge watch it, the fact that it's just being refreshing per episode probably would make it hard to watch the whole thing in one blurb. So, I don't know. Interesting stuff. Tear Moon Empire, episode 10. Continuing to set up stuff that's more important, possibly end of season or series. But season is very possible sort of stuff, and somewhat entertaining enough, although it is a little disappointing that there's a huge element of this that seems to be, oh, people are idiots who don't double check their information or something like that. Which makes it feel like it kind of has a little bit of that fake depth that Potions sometimes has. Not as much of a degree, but still a bit there. But yeah, fine. Spy Family, episode 35. Let's see, we kind of had that. We definitely had an incredibly heartwarming scene in there. Don't know if I want to say anymore, but if you were about to watch it, maybe you're like, oh, man, maybe I'll watch it, and you'll probably be like, oh, that's what Giga Frost was talking about. Yeah, that scene, there's something about that that's just really precious. And, Anya does some funny stuff also, because, yeah. And a nice episode. It had to come down from being a very strong story thing, but, just a nice winding down from that. Let's see. A Returner's Magic Should Be Special, episode 10. One of the things I do appreciate about this episode is it sort of feels like it has to do with the central premise again, which is kind of unfortunate that most of this season hasn't felt like that. It's felt a little distracting. Not necessarily bad distracting, but just, it kind of brings it down from being a potentially great show to maybe being more on the okay to good spectrum, I would say. But, it's still not bad. Berserk of Gluttony, episode 11. You know what? I think I fucking hate Roxy. I already do not respect anybody who's like, you are being violently attacked, well, that must mean it's your fault. It's like, the fuck? Do you fucking expect people to not fucking defend themselves? Just sit there and let themselves get attacked by other people? Tyrants who would use their position of authority to effectively dictate that position, as far as I'm concerned, they should be hung. Slit their fucking throats. Let them bleed out. And the fact that Roxy, who's supposedly nice and considerate, would say this bullshit. And that loudmouth bitch that follows her, still being a loudmouth bitch. But at least this time she wasn't being loudmouth in the middle of a canyon, potentially giving away their stuff. But it's just sort of like, I don't know, these characters are starting to rub me the wrong way. The guy that's been following Roxy is also, fuck you, asshole. He just intentionally took that thing in the worst way possible. I know it's supposed to be funny, but I don't know. I guess I was just a bit soured by the fact that Roxy started the fucking episode pressing one of my trigger buttons, apparently. Contents of the episode, I'm definitely curious to see what they're going to do in the next episode, because what they set up in this episode is at least interesting in that regard. I guess I didn't watch any of my other Sunday anime. So Shangri-La Frontier episode 11, I just ended up, I don't know, didn't feel like firing it up. 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You, episode 9, or sorry, episode 10, didn't fire it up. I haven't caught up on Dark Gathering at all. And I haven't watched a playthrough of a certain dude's Vermo Life. It's like, I guess Vermo Life, that one at least looked a little bit interesting for the next episode, but just a little bit, and I am stressed and exhausted and tired, and I'm having to figure out too much this week. But I did watch Ron Kamanohashi's Forbidden Deductions episode 11. This is an okay episode. I wouldn't call it one of the stronger episodes, but definitely one where I guess there was neat stuff that happened. I think one of my big problems with it is I guess the mystery doesn't feel like one that I would call fair. It has to do with stuff that's like, yeah, you wouldn't be able to even take a guess or look, or maybe even, it doesn't feel like you could rewind it and take a look at something and discover something or anything like that. It just states some things that are interesting, and it's not a bad case, but it's really, as an episode, it's introducing two characters that we've seen in a couple of different episodes in the past, so, you know, kind of good in making it feel a little, you know, like the universe isn't just some convenient playing field for our main characters. And the reasons for people, these people seeing each other, you know, it made a lot of sense. So it was an okay episode. I don't know if it's setting up a season finale, possibly. I mean, it's late enough that it should be if it hasn't been considering it, or it's planning to be longer than one core. And it's not going to take a break at the end of this season. But, It did give a hint as to interesting stuff. And then finally, Dead Mount Death Play episode 22. Meh. It felt like it was jumping around a bit more than it really needed to. It feels like it may be trying to set something up. But, you know, it's kind of hard to care about that because, I don't know. We know our main character's goal, and why the main character's goal is definitely entwined with this other one, and why all these other groups are kind of entwined. But at the same time, I don't know. I feel like, is it doing something that's exploring its fundamental premises? Is it doing something that's I don't know, it feels a little off. Not bad per se. If other people really liked it, that's certainly fine on them, but I don't know. And I could just be really, really cranky and just not dealing with it, but it felt like you had a couple of episodes that made things intersect, but without like jumping around too much. And then this one has done some jumping around for stuff that's, you know, kind of, they introduced a couple new characters again. Ugh. No fucking point. It's exhausting. So then, why didn't I catch up on anime? I know some part of it is, I think last week I might have mentioned some of this complaining about a company holiday party that's been made mandatory and needing to figure it out. If I didn't, then we hadn't been told at that time it was mandatory, but I think the day I recorded this video last week was when they announced that it was mandatory. And that basically meant that I had to be digging around and figuring things out this weekend to make sure I was prepared for whatever I was going to do Wednesday, and preparing for that. And at the same time, I also realized it's also the week when the apartment complex wants us to be setting ourselves up with some new tow company, and yeah, not really looking forward to it because I don't know, they sound, I'd like to say anal, but when the tow company sounds anal, I think that actually is another word for legally predatory. And that's a problem. There's definitely a time and a place for towing. You know, your car doesn't work, tows help you get there. Somebody's parked on private property that shouldn't belong there. Okay, yeah, tows should be called, and you know, that stuff. That's, yeah, it does. But when you have it where it's like, well, we're just going to go around and look for stuff, well, not only does that encourage abuse, but it also encourages, oh, we made a mistake. Yeah, and it's still probably going to cost me fucking money. And at this point, that I guess they're expecting me to, every time I have a guest over, they need to temporarily register with them. I don't know. I think I have an idea how it all works now, but I am needing to deal with those at the same time, and I guess I'm not as caught up on sleep. On Sunday, I was completely exhausted. You could ask the people I hanged out with on VR chat, because there was a VR chat meetup, but I was losing my energy and just kind of lying down on the ground through part of it, because I just did not have energy. That said, I do appreciate the things I was able to do with my VR chat avatar, which is I kind of accepted, okay, maybe I go up to this amount, and then to get the bare minimum things, I went over a threshold. I'm like, well, okay, as long as I don't go over to the next threshold adding these things, I'm comfortable adding all that stuff, and I ended up adding all of that, and I've discovered a couple more things that were bugged about it, but it was all pretty good. And I came up with some ideas on some better contact control stuff for a couple of things. But I'm not sure what I'll do next. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm not quite, because I know some of the things I want to do on my avatar, and I do want to make progress on that, but I definitely am in between stuff enough right now that I'm waiting for, I guess, my PTO, and to see if I have the energy to try and figure out the way I can use certain mechanics, because I'm pretty sure I can. I just need to figure out the basic mechanics to get it all started. But I digress. And at the same time, you know, I'm going to be on PTO until the end of the year, starting Friday. And I'll probably leave a little bit early on Thursday, depending on the how long the mandatory part of the all hands on the company holiday party that is, you know, now mandatory goes. Because as far as I'm concerned, if you're choosing off work hours to have us do that, and they already admitted this, that they're paying people, you know, salaried employees. Everybody else is just going to claim it as time, or at least I'm going to claim it as time, because, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. They're even saying it'll be so much of a party, maybe you'll stay up till 1 a.m., you know. I guess we're booked at the center till 1 a.m. to have drinks and whatever. It's like, but that's 1 a.m. Wednesday night. I think some people are still in school. Do they have to, be home to get their kids up in 4 hours? They have to go to work the next morning? I don't know. It does not feel like it was made for the company, for the employees. It feels like it was made for something else, and now the employees are getting forced into it. Maybe the actual maybe the actual party will come and I'll feel different. But I'm stressed enough. I mean, like, I'm picking at stuff all on stream. Maybe I'll have a different opinion. Maybe I'll just be too stressed and too exhausted to really do anything but stuff. Yeah, stuff. Oh well. I think that's everything I was going to blab about. Oh, I did get in Pokemon my Darkrai's, my shiny Lucarias, my Dialgas, and my Palkias. Maybe I'll choose to do stuff because Palkia and Dialga have some nice beefy stats. But I'll have to think about it. I'm blabbing. Y'all, have a nice week.